Great. So let's get started. Thanks everybody for joining us. Really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to spend with us. My name is Scott Baldwin. I'm a community lead and product evangelist here at Productboard, and really happy to have you involved. Just a few housekeeping items before we get started. We will be recording today's session. So if there's anything you need, may have to leave early or want to share it with a friend afterwards, it will be available within our community, posted as a recap topic in our past events section. You also find it on our YouTube as well afterwards. We will be utilizing Q&A for questions today and chat for chat, so feel free to reach out at any point during the conversation. If you are utilizing the chat, we do suggest selecting to everyone versus the hosts and panelists, as that will only reach Michael and I today during the session. And with that, I'm going to invite Michael to the stage here. Michael's the head of product at You Are It, is how you might say it, or You're It, or Your IT, depending on how you want to say it. But it's a digital consulting company that he's been working for more than 12 years in technology projects and has been working as a product manager for the past 6 years. He's worked on a number of different projects as part of this, but one of his most successful projects was the migration of more than 250,000 users to a new and personalized platform for a well-known financial company in Colombia. And really happy to have Michael joining us today, and look forward to hearing his session. With that, I'm going to pass over to you, Michael, to share screen, and we'll get going from there.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me today.
No problem.
Well, thank you, everyone, to join today. And for those who are going to watch this video later, thank you also. I hope this space is going to work perfectly for you as a PMs or probably other kind of roles that you are having today as a product team. So to start, the idea today is kind of show you how a go-to-market strategy affects your product life cycle. This is a pretty interesting item because normally, and as my experience told me before, and something that I learned during these years, is that sometimes we focus too much time on delivery and we forget that, of course, we need to give value to our users and our stakeholders, but also we need to keep an eye on everything that is happening, on how I communicate things that I'm putting into production environment. And this is something that sometimes we leave this task to the marketing area, or probably a marketing agency. So we kind of say, this is the product that I'm going to launch, or probably this is the feature that I'm going to start launching. This is the way I'm going to segment the users that I already have, or probably if I have a new product, this is the way I'm going to approach these new users. But we need to keep in mind that if we are the owners of the product, we need to be working very close to our marketing area and agency to really structure everything that we are working on, and if we are getting those results that we expect to have. So I'm going to just a quick resume of myself. My name is Michel Hauzeur. Some people tell me Michael. That's perfectly fine. I'm from Colombia. I live here. Probably my name is not an unusual name here in Latin America because I have some ancestors in Europe. I'm the head of product in UIT. That is a digital consulting company. I'm also part of the Product League Mentors. It's been a really nice experience. And I have been working for almost or more than 12 years in projects with technical background, implementing, developing, and now in the digital world as a product. So if you want more information about UIT, this is the QR code. So you can find us in our social media. So I want to start asking you, what is the best product that you have been interacting with? Because this is, I think, if you have a good product, probably it's because they know how to communicate things that are doing daily, and they have probably aligned all the areas and put the product in the center as a service, right? So I'm going to start with mine, and for that reason, I'm doing this presentation in Miro. I think Miro is a clear example of doing the things right, of learning and doing and understanding what the needs are. And I select Miro because, well, I work with Miro all the time. I work with my team through Miro. I create templates in Miro that let me share that information to mostly all the PMs that work with me, but also people outside through different social media. And Miro always tell me if I am enjoying this everything that I'm doing through this platform, but also asking me about everything that could be improved, or probably telling me that there are new things that are available to me, so I can start working with it. And why it's that important, or why the things they are doing in that way, or why they are doing the things that well, I can say, because they know how to understand, how to communicate, and how guide the people, right? So they normally, what they do is to start looking at going through different sessions, different interviews, asking the people if they are enjoying, or if they are valuing everything that they are doing, or if they are having new templates to work with. Also, they give you the opportunity to create your own templates and share it with the community. That also works. I have found a lot of templates that probably are not on the ownership of Miro, but that so many people in the community have been working and have been in the same position as I, right? So I don't know, I'm trying to do a new discovery. I have been using these templates. Probably this kind of project or this kind of client is not working. It probably not going to work in that template that I thought it was. But then I start searching. I go into the Miroverse and I found something different, and I start using it. And everything that I have done as a new template also can be shared to all the people in the community. So that's understanding how the community and this world inside Miro works. Also, they know how to communicate, right? They give us different ways. They have pop-ups, they have emails I'm going to show you later, and they know how to guide also around these new templates. Every time that they have a new release, they give you a quick gift or a video showing you how everything works. I don't know if you do that in your product. As I told you before, and I have been in that position. Sometimes we get so deep into the delivery that we forget that we need to be very, very close to our users. We need to be in those shoes in order to really show them how everything works. We assume too many things during our day, and probably during our sprints and everything that we are developing. And we forget that they need guidance. They need to tell them how everything works, because probably some of them can get everything faster, but others will need help. So that's kind of the three main things I think they have been done really well: understanding, the communication, and the guidance that they have. So how they do it? So I already say something, but they do it through different things. They do it through Learning Center, so that's always available, right? So you have exploring the Help Center, submit an idea. So you have the chance to give them ideas because you are working all the time with them, right? So it's not only to ask if you are, how do you feel working with the product. It's also giving the opportunity to them, to the users, to open the space to receive ideas, because with the community we can start innovating. As the community, of course, if you have any doubt, probably somebody that already have that problem, identify as a possible solution. Contact support. What's new? That is the pop-up that normally comes out every week or every 2 weeks, and they show you everything so easy that we just taking a look into that video or GIF is very clear, and it's like so helpful for you that you can just start working with that template. You have also an academy. So if you don't know something, well, you can start learning. You don't have to go outside of the environment and take a look at a video or watch something different. So everything they have realized that you need all these tools to start working and learning from that. They have, of course, webinars and, well, a direct link to download the app. And also they give you a lot of templates or emails, I'm sorry, where if you don't have the chance to go into your Miro and probably you close something and, well, you don't want to open the help center, you can go and see what else you have received. There's something here, you know, emails every day is costing more money to all companies to really have that conversion, because people today or nowadays is receiving a lot of emails. And what I normally do is to delete all of them that I just read the subject and delete the other ones that probably is not making any value to me. But if I have something that really makes me interesting, well, I'm going to go through. So you have to also find those channels all the time. And of course, how was your learning experience in this new template? So how I start implementing this in my product? That's a really good question, right? Because to do this, I have to be very aligned inside of my organization. So the first thing that I can say, and the way we are trying as a consulting company to tell and explain everyone that wants to create a product or wants to grow and optimize a product, is to think as your product in the center of the organization. Probably you have been working in some big organization that have the product as a channel, right? And when you have a product as a channel, probably it's not like your principal problem, or it's not your principal focus. So you see your product as a secondary way of contacting your clients or your users. But when you put your product in the center, that is the way service design works, right? Is put on product-led growth also, is put your product in the center, align all the areas around it. And when I mean all the areas is operation, marketing, IT, legal, finance, people, sales, logistics, other ones that you want to imagine. And all of them are going to work focus on the product. Because if they are aligned, every time that if I'm working in a new feature, or if I'm working to release a new product, well, everyone is going to know what is happening and how every decision is going to impact all the areas across the company. If I make a change in a pricing model, of course, it's going to impact operations, logistics, probably legal, and finance, right? If I change something in the way I normally do the experience of enrollment or onboarding, well, that's going to also impact customer service, because the people normally do the things in one way, and now I'm changing the way they are doing. So at the end, it's putting everything in the center, so everyone is aligned. And of course, around it, I have the users. So I have also to understand how the user works and how everybody has the same language, has the same content, have the same answers to tell the users how everything works and how we can help, right? So if we see this in the Miro example, we can see that probably Miro has a lot of product teams, right? But they are very aligned in the way they speak. They are very aligned in the way they are going through marketing to telling the people how we should communicate everything new we put into production in our product. So that's the way we have to do it. Try to remember, and I think I'm going to quote Teresa Torres, but she says, the role of the product manager is 80% focus on continuous discovery and 20% on the delivery. So we need continuous discovery is not only, of course, going and find problems, opportunities, and solutions, but also is to be aligned with the other areas in order to everything that I'm developing and creating be very communicate into the product and through all the channels that we are having. So how does this way of thinking impact our product life cycle at the end? So this is a really nice question, I can say. And when I was creating these slides, I was telling myself, okay, how I explain this? Because it's not that easy to tell if you don't work in the product world as a PM, or probably if somebody here works in the marketing, or as a business analyst or UX, probably the people in design understand very well, and also technology. But if somebody that are outside of this space of product, well, I need to be very, very specific and very detailed on the way how I'm explaining this. So I'm going to tell you and explain you how we in UIT we define the product life cycle. So we have three main stages, right? We have product strategy, design and development, and growth and optimization. In this picture, probably this looks very like linear, but you know it's not like that. It's like a loop that continues. Well, it has a continuous run all the time. And when we are creating a product, because we have different stages of the product, when we are creating a product, what we do normally, well, we define, of course, when we do understand the why, we do some research from the audience market, we do some willingness to pay validation of the product itself, create a vision until we have an ideal product where we take an MVP to start implementing, right? Then we start designing and developing, and we put that product into production. And that's where, like, we have at the beginning, when we are creating that product, like more time to define how everything is going to be launched, right? So we start thinking segmentation, we start creating a communication plan, start speaking with marketing about the tone, language, kind of like visual that we're going to use. We define our data architecture and how we're going to support the product. And that's give you, I don't know, probably an MVP, an average comes out in 3 months, or if we have something too big that we I don't know, that's not the way of an MVP, 6 months. Well, we have that time to have that strategy like in running during this development. But when we start growth and optimization, that's the things start like changing, right? So we have at the beginning definitions in the product strategy, right? And definition means how I'm going to start identifying or creating or defining what is my product and how I'm going to put that product into the market. You know, when we focus too much, and I told in my team to the PMs, remember that it's not only delivery, because we can deliver a spectacular product, but if we don't know how to launch it, and probably we don't know how to communicate it, and if we don't know how to put data into the product so we can read it later, well, probably we're going to fail in that product, because we did the things very well from the technical part, but talking to the users, well, we are failing in that task. So this definition is very important. The vision is very important. The strategy is very important. The OKRs that we define, right? When we talk about that desired outcome that we want to reach, it's going to give me also a path to follow during the process of this product life cycle, right? So this is really important. Now, when we are in the implementation, that's where everything that we define start taking some reality, as I can say, because we say, okay, we're going to do the segmentation now in this part of the press. Okay, how I'm going to do the segmentation, right? How I'm going to, if I have already users, well, let's define metrics or some indicators that tell me how is the adoption, probably how long they have been with me, the lifetime cycle. That kind of thing is going to give me also information about which kind of an experimental group I should launch first, then control groups if I want to have different, I don't know, several or 3, 5 control groups so I can deploy that product, right? And also working with the marketing team, telling them, okay, this is the product, this is how I work the product, this is the value that I'm going to give to my users. This is how I thought is gonna be the way I should communicate. And they're gonna take that insights and start working on that communication plan in the timeline, of course, reviewing the design team, how we are going to define the interviews or the service that we're going to send to the users later to see if everything that we expect to have in the product is real. Yeah, that value that we thought is gonna be for them is real, and everything about the support, no, because the support is also important, and we're going to talk about those things later in this session. But here, once we launch, it's very important because I call this, and of course, you know, continuous discovery is something that we talk normally in our world, but also continuous deployment. And for me, from my perspective, this is where everything start making sense from how everything is gonna be impacted, right? From the go-to-market strategy, but also is the hardest part. Why? Because when I start a product, I have time to start telling and communicating to people how it's gonna be my product. Probably I have more time to plan, more time to talk, more time to define, to do some tests. But once the product is running, the things change because I don't have that much time. If I want to continue giving value to my users, well, I need how Miro does. Every 2 weeks, I need to tell the people what's going on, what's new comes, what else you can find in my platform. So the time start getting shorter. So you have to be very, very detailed, and you have to plan all your tasks in order to really give that information in the right time to the users, right? So if we take the Miro case, probably if you see the product life cycle, the continuous discovery probably is starting 2 sprints. If we say that every sprint is 2 weeks as an example, 2 weeks before the planning, right? Because we need to have something that we identify to start implementing. And probably a feature, if we are very good as a team, we can deploy a feature every sprint, so every 2 weeks, right? So during this period of time, I have to prepare everything, be aligned with my data team, with my customer service, all the areas of the company, and also with the marketing team in order to tell them, okay, we already defined the tone, the language, the visuals, but now we came with new feature. This feature is important. So how we're going to communicate this and show the people that probably this feature is going to solve any problem that or a need that they have already, and try to don't miss anything or try to don't let anything behind from other things that we are coming new or we have new in the product. So that's very important. I can say, as we prioritize user stories or our requirements, we also need to prioritize what we want to show them or want to show to the users, because that's very important. When Miro give me that pop-up of what's new, probably the first thing that I'm seeing is the biggest feature that they want to deploy or the new things that they want to show me. If you scroll down, you find new things, but probably they are not as important as the first one. So prioritization in this part is also very, very important. And you, as a PM, well, you need to figure out what's, and of course, with your team and marketing and all the others, what is the most important thing you want to show and why. Why this is most important to you as a user? Because you're going to find a new template that is going to give you a lot of information. So that in this perspective, try to be very, very specific and do a good prioritization with those frameworks that you already know. Okay. So we saw this at the end of the, well, we already understand how the product cycle works, right? But I want to go deeper because I want to finish probably at 40-45 to receive some questions and try to talk to you about your experiences or some problems that you are having. So from that product lifecycle that you saw, I add something that is very important, and is every launch, right? So I have the product strategy, I have the design and development, but the launch for me is a special time. The launch is gonna give us growth. It's gonna give us adoption. It's gonna give us conversion. If you have a product that probably uses a free trial or a freemium, and you are not having that conversion, and you're still working, probably you say, okay, if I add this new feature into the freemium model, or if I give a free trial something else or some more days, and I show them a new product, the launch is the right time to tell them why they need to start paying for your product. Why? Because it's where you are going to have all the attention of the user. If a user that has been for 15 days working with your platform, and they are working with the minimum of features, seeing that everything works well, but you have trouble converting those users into a paying user, well, you have to tell them and communicate it very well from the language, tone, visual, etc., that this new feature or this new value that you're going to give to them is what they need, right? And well, you say, okay, that sounds like, when I say it sounds easy, I know that is not easy, but we need to think, and for that reason, we need to be very aligned with everyone in our company to tell them, the user, that this new feature or this new value is what they need, and for that reason, probably they need to pay. How we do it? Normally, email, I think, well, email always like work. Probably now the CTA is getting lower, but if you have normally users that opens that platform every day, well, do as Miro. I think that works. Telling them all the time why they are having this feature, and what they can use it also. Show them how easy it is to use the things. It's not only to say we have a new feature. I took that mistake. I did very, very bad things in my past, right? Just telling the users that you have a new feature and go and try it. It's like saying, okay, I have a new dish that you're gonna love in a restaurant, and go try. It's mushrooms with rice. No, you have to see it. You have to really taste it, because everything enters through your eyes, right? So if you show them that it's something easy, that is going to give you a lot of value, probably you're going to have the attention that you wanna, and then when they try, you probably are going to increase that conversion. So for that reason, I'm adding this launch. So remember, this loop is product strategy, design and development, launch. Launch takes time. So don't leave it at the end. Start working during the process of design and development. Why I put it in the third position is because it's when you launch the product. And then when you launch it, you start thinking on growth and optimization, and that loop start running and running every day. So what means a go-to-market strategy from my perspective? Probably people from marketing are gonna tell me different things, but from my perspective, right? So I have to be very aligned with marketing, right? That's something what we have been repeating during all this conversation. But what that means and why I have to be very close to them, because we are going to start talking about those channels that we are going to be in contact with our users or our clients. That definition not only comes from marketing, that comes also from us, from the team. Because remember, when we did the product strategy, we did our research. We understood what and how the audience receive information, how the market is receiving information. So that those channels should be defined between the team, the product team, and also with the rest of the areas, including marketing, including customer support, right? Because customer support is gonna be, and I think, our closest area after the launch, because they need to know how to support. We need to define segmentation. In segmentation, we need people from growth, people from BI, people from marketing, probably people from finance, because they can tell us a lot of information from numbers, right? And between all of us, we're going to segment the people. Probably Miro does that. If I'm a user that I go every day and I use these kind of templates, for example, I like to create my templates and I like to share it through the social media that I have. They usually is giving me information about how I can create more templates, better templates from the visual. Probably I'm not that visual that I want to be, but this is going to help me to be that person. Communication. Define that communication plan. Define how you're going to receive, how you're going to speak, but also how you're going to receive information. It's in both ways, right? You can use the same language in both ways. Define the tone, define the content. Everything is defined between you or the team and the marketing and the rest of the area. This is very important. But remember that you have short time. So at the beginning, you have time to define, time to take and see how everything is gonna be. But when you are defining that, remember, think that are gonna be, this is a baseline to everything that you're gonna start using in the future. It's about the launch also. So how segmentation, the segmentation, of course, is very attached with this launch. But why I put it like in two groups? Because we can define some level of segmentation, right? I can say, okay, I'm going to have 3 clusters of users, but when I do the launch, I'm going to, from those 3 clusters, I'm going to define an experimental group of each one with 5 to 10 people as an example, where I'm going to test the product or the feature that I'm launching in right now. I don't want to be, and I think most of us have been in that position, when you launch something to everyone and it's not clear and we don't know how to communicate, probably it's gonna return to our customer service, through our surveys, through our interviews, and probably we are not going to have that adoption that we expected because we didn't know how to support everything that we did. So for that reason, I love to work with control groups also. So experimental groups give me the first perception. If everything is right, if what I did works perfectly, or we need to optimize or do some improvements. Control groups give me the pace to prepare the company in order to support everything that comes into as a command as a question, and as a server. And of course, deployment. We have to be aligned with the team, right? How we're going to deploy? Because first, we're going to do it at night, midnight probably, because we don't want to affect the product. People works until very late. We see numbers, we see data, and people is working until, I don't know, 11 o'clock at night, and we need to do it at midnight and at the first time of the next day, probably 1 a.m. in the morning, right? So that's the alignment that we're going to have in the launch, and we're going to do it. And the deployment is very important. I remember once that we wanted to do the experimental group, the control group, but when we defined the architecture, we messed up. I'm sorry for the expression, but because we didn't define the architecture to create those layers that are going to give me the opportunity to control which kind of users with these characteristics are going to be online on, or are going to be open to test this new product. So it's too many things, right? Too many things to think. But if we plan everything right, if we plan our sprints, if we plan and trying to divide our time as a PMs with 80% working on product and 20% working on the delivery, probably we're going to be a successful PM. Product support, for me, it's very important. I did so many things by in this point. I remember once that we had a really beautiful, nice feature, but when we launched it, we forgot to tell the customer service how everything is gonna be and how they can be contacted by the users, and how they can support the users for questions and comments. So then the customer service told me, "Hey, what happened? You didn't tell me that you were going to launch this feature. We were not prepared to this, and now we have a lot of like calls and chats of users with really bad comments telling me that this is not working. That what is this? Why do we don't know about this new feature, etc., etc." So this is very important. When we talk about support, remember, it's about training all the areas. Product support is not only customer service, it's also the people from infrastructure, right? They need to do a follow-up every time of the servers, right? If the servers are working well. It's about the people of IT that is supporting. Probably API went down, so we need to see what's happening. What happened with the databases, right? It's about talking about operations. We launched a new feature that affect, I don't know, a specific area of operations. They need to know, because we need to operate and we need to do things in that. Finance, right? So we need to tell finance that from now, we're going to start receiving this kind of payments. They are prepared. They have all the things inside to like in their softwares to do that. So it's all those things that we need to be prepared. Documentation. Give them documentation. It's not about PDFs. It's also about videos, showing them how everything is working, how the experience work, what are the options that they have. Also could be photos or landings. When I worked in that finance company so many years ago, we had some financial advisors. So I had to tell them also, I had to train that financial advisors. That the financial advisors were part of my product support, right? Because customers normally call or customer service or the financial advisor. So I had to also to train them and give them information to support everything that we want to have or how we want to support that new feature. Leave chats open for those new features that you are having in your product, if they are very important, or if they have any big impact in your product. Prepare the bots, right? Normally, customers have received different kind of question or comment. Most of them can be solved through these bots. So how this new feature works, I send you the link of a video of how everything works. And I don't need to talk with any advisor or analyst in the customer service and give them guidance, right? So guidance is what Miro does. It's about putting a pop-up or those walk me that give me the example of what each feature option works for. And it's telling me how everything works. So, you know, nowadays, we as a users want to be very, very like independent. We don't want to call nobody. We want to be independent. So prepare your products for that. And that means that if you have that product strategy time, design and development, decide if you're gonna use bots, train those bots, be prepared for everything. And data is also important, because when you say, okay, data, I don't know how this works with go-to-market strategy, but it's very important, because go-to-market strategy and the information that's going to give me, and the launch, the way I'm going to start launching the product between the experimental group, between the control group, is also going to give me a lot of information. So I can then start working on that growth and optimization cycle and run that loop again and again. So it's about creating or updating those dashboards. It's about identifying that North Star metric, or those metrics that matters for me as a product manager and as a business itself. It's about how I define the architecture, right? How I define a good architecture that's going to give me the information that I will need to go-to-market strategy well, and it's gonna and then it's gonna give me back that information. So the next time that I do a go-to-market strategy, probably I will do it better, because I'm learning from the past. So everything, it's about the normally product life cycle. So I create something, I test it, I identify, and then again. So this is something that we take this new way of working into each area of the new way of working in each topic. So as a conclusion, this is everything about putting the product as a center of your service, of your company. If you don't have it yet, don't worry, this is a process. Probably start raising your hand and saying, okay, I don't want to have more my product as a part of a channel, as a secondary channel. I just want to have my product as a primary, and show them why this is going to be a good reason for it. If you have your product as a secondary channel, because I had one, is telling them about why, and do some strategy to convert that second channel into a primary by doing the things right, by doing go-to-market strategy, to trying to capture all the users that probably you're doing in the physical world, and trying to do it in the digital world. But also, it's about continuous discovery. It's about continuous deployment. It's about a continuous strategy. The strategy, you don't define it once. You define it every time that you launch something. Every time that you think about growth and optimization, is about changing the strategy, or doing some improvements, or really saying what I did was wrong. I need to create it from the start, from the beginning. It's about a continuous launch, right? It's about a continuous analysis. It's about a continuous support. So if we align all of them, if we put our product in the center, we understand how the product works with the rest of the area, how we work very close, and we define everything with marketing, how we define the launch with the team, with the rest of the company, how we define the support and tell everyone. So we are very clear, and we do the analysis and we update those analyses. Well, we are going to have a complete go-to-market strategy that we can start testing, probing, and getting better improvement every day. I passed just 1 minute, I'm sorry. So if you have any question, just let me know, please. I'm going to check here the chat.
Oh, that's good. Thank you. We'll jump on stage. I mean, we'll leave some time here for people to ask any questions if they've got them. They can utilize the Q&A for that. We'd be happy to jump in on that side. Maybe one that I'd just like to ask, maybe to get things started, while people are maybe sharing theirs, is tell me about maybe one of the biggest mistakes you ever ran into where you avoided these steps. Like thinking back to maybe one of your past launches, and whether it's your current company or otherwise, but like where you basically missed that boat. Like what was the key learnings you took away from that, and like how did that shape some of your thinking on this topic?
Well, I think when I started in this role, I was so focused on delivery because I thought that delivery was gonna give me that adoption that I was expected. So I created a beautiful feature. It was so nice. It was like from the design, the UX, the UI. We really thought it, and we spent a lot of time doing that research. And at the end, after I think what's like 2 or 3 months, we deployed that feature, and I forgot because I was just focused on delivery to tell customer service and to tell the financial advisors in the financial company about that feature. And that was a great, not a big mistake, because we were so happy as a team that we finally deployed after several months. And the next day, the first hour of the day, once the customer support was online, we start receiving comments about users. And of course, the customer support noticed that we launched something they didn't knew. So we had started receiving 2 different comments from users and also customer service replying why they didn't know, and they won't be prepared, why they didn't receive the training, why they didn't receive anything. So we have to really run to do some screenshots, recording the experience in the staging environment, and giving to the customer service as soon as possible. But at the end, it was not taking into account the areas that I want that we needed for that deployment. Nowadays, I always say this is something that marked my life, I think. And now, like 2 or 3 sprints before I think to start working on that that feature, I always have a checkpoint with all the areas and show them my vision and what comes next in my plan, in order to really prepare themselves and the rest of the area on what comes next. And I always tell them, okay, we're going to do 3 or 3 trainings. The trainings are going to be from the technical, from the experience, and also from the support. I'm going to give you this documentation. So we are going to be very prepared. The day of the launch, I'm going to tell you how was it, if everything well, or if we need to do a rollback. You know, all of us have been in that position of doing rollbacks at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
So the communication is very important. Take into account all the areas is very important. Be aligned with all of them is very important, because if I have something that didn't work well, I have to also tell the marketing team. So the marketing team is part of the support, right? Because at the end is how I put the product in the center and tell everyone that we need to be very aligned on how on that first that the language should be the same. So the financial advisor needs to say the same thing as the customer service analyst, as marketing, like everyone. And sometimes we are in a rush, we're in a hurry, we're trying to deploy faster, we forget that. And sometimes also that make a lot of confusions between users. And when you have bad communication, you know that you lose trust in your product. And when you lose trust, well, at the end, that's gonna give us more churn, and probably we are going to start losing those users that we want to have and keeping engaged.
Yep. Yeah, definitely. One question that came in here on this side is, sort of around the idea that they appreciate how Miro releases new features, but often, essentially, this particular person doesn't often have the time to read them when they run into them. And they're curious, like, what would you suggest maybe that they try to do, or an approach they could take to maybe make that a better?
Well, I think now, and yeah, I totally understand. I have been also in that position, but I think probably the CDPs, the customer data personalization platforms, also work for that. I think we need to go deeper into data analysis because, as an example, I love to do in Miro a lot of templates. If Miro knows that I do a lot of templates, probably they are going to send me information focused on how I create better templates and how I share it to the community. So I think through these kind of platforms, now there are so many. I don't want to say names here, but you can find, if you write CDPs on your browser, you're going to find a lot of them. That's are really good tools to start using and understanding what are the adoptions or the appropriation that you have from the product, right? Because some people use your product as differently as you expected. So that also is very important to understand.
Yeah, I think, and you touched a little bit on that earlier as well, too, the importance of different distribution channels for your message. So obviously, you might not have time to read it here, but maybe you have time to read it somewhere else. So as long as we're hitting you through multiple distribution channels, potentially too, there's more likelihood you're going to get exposed to it or have an opportunity to come back to it. And I know Miro as well, I believe, also makes those notes still readily accessible. They're not like once there and disappearing. You can still browse through the entire history as part of their particular application.
Yeah, that's true. That's right. And they do the things, from my perspective, I think they do the things right with that help center. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. So thank you very much. I really, really appreciate you taking the time today. I'm just going to close out with a few remaining slides and information. But yeah, it was really, really great, and super appreciated your willingness to share on some insights on this particular topic. As per the chat, I left a copy of the link to our post-event survey. We'd love to hear feedback on this. Michel here as well will also get all that feedback. So we'd love to give him some insights into how his presentation went. So please do take a moment if you get a chance before you depart today. You can also continue the conversation within our community. If you want to post a new comment or a new particular question post-event, we'd love to hear that on that side. And lots of other things going on here in the community as well. We've got lots of different events coming up next week with Chris Daniel, the week following with JJ Rory. We've got our Product Makers Book Club. We've got a session in September with Katja and Daniel on product leadership. And we have September closing out with Matt Wallert as well. And then lots of other great events coming up in October and November with David Reimer and Josh Snyden as well. So feel free to take a look at those on our community webpage anytime you want. We've also got lots of other programs happening. Our Maker Mentor program, our current cohort's wrapping up for September, and our new one will start in October. If you want to get involved as either a mentor or a mentee, feel free to join us on that side. We've got our monthly roundtables, our Meet a Maker program, and lots of ways, again, to get involved here as a speaker. If you're interested in sharing some of your product knowledge with us, let us know, and we'd be happy to have a conversation and explore what we can do on that side. With that, thank you again, everybody, for joining us today. Really, really appreciate it. And Michel, thank you for taking the time to share your insights. And I really appreciate you getting involved.
Thank you very much.